West Asia is now poised for the final act. Welcome, Swagatam. What we have seen played out in Gaza, in my opinion, is only the curtain raiser. Sure enough, human tragedy of an unspeakable dimension has been enacted in Gaza. Sure enough, destruction of an unprecedented order has been witnessed in Gaza. Sure enough, its aftermaths have been experienced in various parts of this region, including Lebanon, Syria, and to some extent, a limited extent, in Iran. But what's going to happen will outclass and eclipse all that has happened so far. At least that's my reading of the situation. And in this video, I'll deal with only one or two indicators in that direction, and I'll conclude this very brief video. The linchpin and the entire script, the Middle Eastern script, is not Hamas, it's not Hezbollah, it's not the people of Gaza or West Bank or Lebanon. The heart of the matter, the real nucleus of concern is Iran, 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 and nobody else. Those of us who have been watching the developments in this region, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, would have anticipated the commencement of the kind of action that began in Gaza in the wake of the October 7, 2023, most ill-advised Hamas adventure into the territory of Israel. By launching that attack, Hamas actually did Israel a great favor. Israel was looking for an opportunity to put to practice the script, the playbook, the drama that it's been writing over a period of time. The attack that the Hamas launched into the Jewish kibbutz, including the Nova Music Festival, which resulted in the massacre of over 1,200 Jews and the captivity of nearly 250 Israelis, all taken and brought as hostages to Gaza, is comparable in its significance to the attack launched on the Twin Trade Towers of New York. That was not the end of the story, as we know. That was the mere curtain raiser to a drama that was bound to be played out on the global scenario, and what all things have happened under the aegis of the war on terror, we know. And what the Middle Eastern region is witnessing today is Israel's version of the war on terror, or as Netanyahu prefers to put it, Israel's war on the axis of evil. Good and evil are interesting categories, and I will not go into a moral discussion on what essentially is a political topic. So, if you want to understand this particular situation aright, what you have to do is to go back in time and recall the very memorable speech that Netanyahu made in the UN General Assembly, where he, flashing a map of this region, said, or rather declared emphatically, that Israel will not allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon. There is no way Israel would brook this prospect, and the decisive action would be resorted to. And subsequently, the statement found very favorable echoes, particularly in Washington. And I don't think that even at that time Netanyahu could have made this statement of naked aggression in the United Nations General Assembly without the tacit secret support and patronage of the American government. Now, even as the ceasefire is in effect, even as the exchange of hostages is in progress by fits and starts, even as the precarious peace holds, something else is already afoot. But before I come to that, let me say that I don't think the ceasefire, in terms of the three stages envisaged for this, will hold. The ceasefire will hold for some more time, but before the second stage of the ceasefire agreement is implemented or completed, either implemented or completed, two stages, it is bound to collapse, and Gaza is bound to come under a renewed and perhaps far greater and more destructive attack, because the project of rendering Gaza unlivable is not complete yet. What's the basis for saying this? Why do you think Trump came up with this most unusual, most unexpected, most out of the box idea that the people of Gaza should be resettled elsewhere? Gaza should be handed over to the United States, handed over to him so that he can turn this into the real estate tycoon, the real estate maverick that he is. He can turn this into the Middle Eastern Riviera. He said that merely to endorse Netanyahu's position that he will never allow another attack from Gaza to be launched against Israel. And this is the only way this can be achieved, or this is the way to achieve it. So, after floating this idea, after floating this trial balloon, Trump and Netanyahu have been monitoring the responses from various quarters. The responses are predictably muted. One would have expected far more aggressive, ferocious, vehement reactions. And if by Joe Biden had motored this idea, there would have been volcanic eruptions of global protest. But Trump is Trump, and Joe Biden is Joe Biden, and the rest of the world will play safe with Trump, and therefore, adverse reactions to Trump's idea are incredibly muted. But it's by now sufficiently evident that this idea is not going to be readily bought up by others. And therefore, in order to move the rest of the world closer to a stage of conviction in agreement with Trump's idea, it is necessary that Gaza is subjected to further destruction. And believe you me, it's going to be done. It's going to be done in the most brutal manner. But that's not the main part of the story that I want to share with you. My main concern today is that the attack on Iran is rather imminent. It is both inevitable and imminent. I'll give you only two indicators and I'll close. You would have seen in the media a report, somewhat muted, of the shipment of a very large quantity of extremely destructive war equipment, particularly bunker bursting bombs, 2,000-pound bombs, which the Biden administration hesitated to supply. A large consignment of these weapons of extreme destructiveness has just reached Tel Aviv, supplied by the United States of America. And this is not to be used in Gaza. It cannot be It doesn't have to be used in Gaza at all. And the fresh consignment of arms supplied to Israel is huge. You would have seen a report saying that the total value is to the tune of $7.9 billion. Billion dollars. So it's a huge consignment. And there is no need for it if the scope of Jewish action, Israeli action, is limited to Gaza, or maybe certain parts of Lebanon, or even Syria, about which Israel has some anxieties now, as is evident from some of the statements that Netanyahu has made recently. This consignment makes sense only with reference to Iran, period. Secondly, if you have listened to the news conference involving Netanyahu and Secretary of State Mark Rubio, the American Secretary of State, in Tel Aviv just today, it would certainly become very clear that the next target is without any doubt, Iran. We have been hearing reports that Iran is on the threshold of the nuclear bomb, and it's a matter, as per some reports, it's a matter of weeks. As per some other reports, it's a matter of months before Iran acquires the nuclear bomb, the dirty bomb. And that's the one thing that Israel cannot accept, Israel cannot endure, Israel cannot live with. Because accepting the prospect of Iran becoming a nuclear state is tantamount to reconciling, as far as Israel is concerned, reconciling themselves to the idea of facing extinction. Because that's a stated aim of Iran, to wipe out the Jewish state. There's no ambiguity on this matter. So, does Israel have a choice to look the other way? I'm afraid not. Do I look forward to Israel attacking Iran? Certainly not. But what's the way out? I don't know. And therefore, I'm driven to the conclusion, much against my will and with a broken heart, that action against Iran is imminent, ominously imminent. It's a matter of days, matter of weeks, and may not be a matter of months. And it's quite obvious that there is a confluence or consensus of interest between Tel Aviv and Washington, between Netanyahu and President Donald Trump in this one issue. And this issue is further sharpened by the report. To what extent that report was credible, we do not know. By the report that the present regime in Iran was conspiring to eliminate Donald Trump before he became the President of the United States of America. And President Trump is not one to forget or forgive. And therefore, nothing short of a regime change in Iran will meet what is perceived to be the bottom line requirements, both of Washington and Tel Aviv, both of Donald Trump and Netanyahu. And therefore, the pawns on this chessboard of Middle Eastern armed crisis are being now moved pretty fast. The stage is now being readied. And when exactly the green signal will be issued, I do not know. But I do believe, and believe very firmly, that it will not be delayed too much. It's extremely unfortunate. What kind of ramifications and unseen consequences this would have, I do not know. But all of us know that it's not a small thing, and it cannot but have its repercussions and ramifications affect the rest of the world. At any rate, as we have seen in the wake of the security conference that happened in Germany with focus on Ukraine, not exclusively on Ukraine, but mainly on Ukraine. and the statements and the posturing that America undertook there, it's absolutely clear that the global order is poised for a major change. The world as we have known between 1992 and 2025 is fading out. Something else, something radically different is coming into being. These are early days yet, but the symptoms, the writings are there on the wall for all to see. They're unmistakable, they're there. So, every nation in the country worth talking about is now waking up to the fact that tectonic shifts are taking place. They have to sit up and prepare their plans to cope with these very, very dramatic, radical, and maybe sometimes traumatic changes. And India is one among the prominent nations in this list, a list of nations that have to wake up and put their acts together. And what acumen Prime Minister Modi and his team will bring to bear on it, we have to wait and see. But already the signs are not pretty happy. The hug still remains, but the sheen of the hug is gone. Something of the grimness of global realpolitik has hit the Indian scenario as well. But before our turn comes, it will definitely be and immediately be the turn of Iran. And nothing short of a regime change in Iran will satisfy the expectations of Donald Trump and Netanyahu. Pretty much how they envisage the situation in Gaza, just as Israel insists that a complete change in Gaza, which includes elimination of the military political influence structure of Hamas and disinfecting the Gaza Strip of terrorist cells and terrorist tunnels, which can be achieved only through a complete change in regime. The same logic will apply to Iran as well, though the scale of operation is much, much larger. But then, you see, before Israel attacked Lebanon, there was a lot of talk globally that Hezbollah is not like Hamas, playing with Hamas is easy, but you have to be very careful before you touch Hezbollah. And Israel has proved that Hezbollah is as brittle as Hamas. In fact, it proved to be more brittle. That has emboldened Israel no end. And that's also another reason why I say that launching an earth-shaking attack on Iran is on the cards. It is imminent. It's inevitable. Thank you very much. May the world know peace, enduring peace. May humanity as a whole become capable of accepting the gift of peace rather than live in the diabolic excitement of theaters of war being enacted at a distance. Which delight bespeaks the degradation and the depravity of human nature. Thank you. All the very best.